This is the Next Bite of Life podcast, the place to be to hear personal stories from expats, digital nomads, and everybody else taking their next bite of life. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Next Bite of Life podcast. My name is Kem, of course, and today I have a very interesting guest. Her name is Nichole Davis. How are you today, Nichole?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Fine, thanks. I know I got you up a little bit early, and I'm going to try and make this as quickly as I can because you're right now in Honolulu, right?
Yes, I am. Well, I'm so used to early hours and all hours of the day, so this isn't too much of a stretch for me. It's still early, but
Now, Nicole, I know I'm going to start off by telling everybody that you are a flight attendant and you've
mm,
been doing that for a few years. And I want to hear your whole story of how this started. And I should start off by saying that Nicole is not your real name. It has been changed to protect the guilty, I think.
I like how you put that. I like how you put that. Oh, yes, yes. That's my pen name that I use. I love my job, so I like to kind of just be under radar, but still share as much as I can. But
Good for
yeah,
you.
it's been almost 8, 9 years since I
Wow.
started as a flight attendant, and this was not something I've always dreamed of, ever planned to do, not even on my radar. So it's been just a whirlwind, and it keeps
Yeah.
getting to be a whirlwind. I am Chicago-based flight attendant, and I actually started with before I was a flight attendant, I was a consultant. I had my own business
Hmm?
doing marketing and just, really ready for career change. All I know is I like to travel and I like the unconventional entrepreneurial lifestyle. But
Yeah.
I had no idea ever that it would lead to being a flight attendant. It was one of those things where something needed to happen in life that was different. And, people were like, oh, you should just go back into a full time world, go
Yeah.
work in an office. And that was actually my biggest fear is to be in an office, going to the same place, in and out every day. You see the same people saying hi,
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
morning, eating lunch.
Exactly.
So when this position came about, it was one of those things where I just knew someone who knew someone. And
Hmm.
this was after a time when I was really rebuilding financially too. So I was really kind of like, okay, I just need a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the landlady where I lived at the time, her daughter was a flight attendant. And one day
Oh.
she just, I was fascinated with the job like everyone is. Like, how does this work? And,
Yeah.
what kind of hours do you keep? And she just shared with me and she loved her job. She loved it. It was the best job in the world. And, so that's kind of contagious sometimes. And I said,
Yeah.
it sounds like enough flexibility where I can do it.
Yeah.
And
So,
then
what was the actual thing that actually made you say, you know what, that's it. I'm going to give my notice or whatever it is with the other one and say, this is it. I'm going to go forward with the flight attendant.
Well, there wasn't much notice to give
Oh,
because
because it
by the
was you,
time, yeah, by
right?
the time I started, I had closed up shop and I was doing
Okay.
a lot of odd jobs. It was the first time too, and I talk about this, the first time I failed at something. Like I had a business, it was 10 years old. I
Hmm.
had clients and it was about 2008,
I
2009.
knew you were going to say that.
Yep. So you
It's
know
like
what
the
happened.
dark period of my life too. So
Yeah, I was yes, I was so surprised when I finally like resurfaced a few years later working. And I talked to everyone and they're like, yeah, that was mine too. I was like, oh, that's where you went. So
it's
yeah.
like, oh wow, that's amazing. So now, did you have to do any sort of preparation? Then your friend, the landlady's daughter, was doing that. How did you now go about getting a job for yourself, setting yourself up as a flight attendant? Did you have to take classes or anything?
Well, no, surprisingly, a lot of people think that you have to take classes, but it was, and this was kind of, I was a little bit surprised. So I filled out the application. She came in one day on layovers, headed back out. Was just like, hey, the company's hiring, fill out an application. And I went online, filled out an application, and it was one of hundreds of applications I've been filling
Yeah.
out for jobs.
Yeah.
Didn't really even know how much it paid. I was just like, okay, I need a job.
Like, just give me a job, right?
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
tell me the pay later.
right. Like,
Right?
didn't think much of it, and surprisingly, it was about 2 3 weeks later where I had an email response, and it said like, we want to invite you out for an interview. And I was,
Wow.
it was so kind of like, huh, okay, I'll go. And
Was it in the same city, or did you have to like go somewhere
no,
else?
it was in another state, a completely different state. So they flew me out. It's an airline, so they
Oh,
flew me out
wow.
there. It was overnight in a hotel. It was kind of like, imagine a company, it was like, okay, we want to invite you to come for an interview. We're trying, check you out. So it was a one day,
Yeah.
all day interview, and you go meet different people, a series of interviews. And so, I did the interview prep. I was, nervous and rusty, of
Mhm.
course, with
Of course.
interviewing. But Anna, who's a flight attendant, she coached me, she prepped me like, okay, make sure to dress conservative, here's what the job entails. So she did like a really great job. So I felt prepared, like I knew how to answer the questions, but also my background, because when I was a consultant, I
Mhm.
traveled a lot for my clients.
Okay.
So having that traveling, working all hours, doing event coordination, working with, what I call crazy clients. I had
Yes.
I had all that experience, and I would
Yeah.
have never imagined it would lead me to have the same skill sets. So it's not,
Amazing.
yeah, it was really about having the skill set that I think was really attractive to the company.
That's great. Now, after that went okay, was that just the step and then they just said, "Okay, you're hired," after that, or did you have to do other things? I mean, was there a series of
Oh yeah.
interviews or it was just one?
It was no, so the interview itself was actually, if they like you, you have an interview to do training, which is kind of like,
Okay.
if you pass the flight attendant training, then you're hired automatically.
Gotcha.
So if you don't mess up the training, which was super duper intense, and pretty much you're in a hotel, you're away from home for about 6 weeks.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, yeah. So a lot of times people think that they have to attend flight attendant school beforehand. No, they'll give you all the training
Training that you need.
to do that.
6 weeks.
But
Well, that's
yeah,
a really long time.
yeah, it was. It was a lot of, we had tests every day, just about, everything from safety procedures to operation of the aircrafts. You have to know where all the safety equipment on the airplanes are, and there are different airplanes, at least about 10 to 20 different airplanes.
Wow.
So all that time, and then you have a roommate who you've never met, who's probably
Mhm.
very different from you. So you're learning how to, work with other people and live with
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
So it's intentionally a kind of high stress situation, and you're
Yeah.
up early. You have to be on time, which mirrors what it's going to be like when you're a flight attendant in hotel
Gotcha.
rooms, in and out. We didn't do the traveling, but always something new every day. So really, they, are evaluating to see, how are you holding up? Are you still passing all the tests? Are you learning what you need to do? Are you breaking down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, like, were there dropouts? Like, did you start the classes with, a lot of people, and by the end there is only like last man standing?
Something like that. It was a large class of maybe about 50 people,
Yeah.
and we had maybe about 42 when it
Wow.
all said and done, for different reasons. It was
Yeah.
everything from, you couldn't get along with your roommate, you couldn't work it
Yeah.
out, to you just, weren't passing the test, or you
Yeah.
just didn't follow instructions.
Yeah. I think a lot of people look at flight attendants and think, "Oh, that's easy. I could do it." Or, people give you advice, "Oh, yeah, just go do that," without realizing that actually a lot of things go into it. Because when you're on a plane and you see, they're not just there to bring you drinks or blankets. They're also, if somebody's sick, they have to like know how to handle
Exactly.
all these things.
Yeah,
It's amazing. Now,
exactly.
you've been doing this for a while and
Mhm.
you love it. Do you ever get to the point where you're just like, I am about to wring somebody's neck from like some of the customers that the
Oh
clients that
yeah,
come
all
on the
the
plane?
time. All the time. just so the passengers know, we do talk about you. We're in the
Oh,
galaxy.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually by seat number.
Yeah.
We'll say 32A is just doing too much today. They need to stay in their seat. Like, this is the third time he has rang the call bell.
Yeah, like, it's his personal, like, all of a sudden he thinks he has a personal butler, right?
Right, right. Exactly.
It's
So
like, excuse me, you're sitting in the cheap seats, you can't touch that bell.
exactly. So we'll have a medical emergency. We're trying to help someone or revive someone, and then someone rings the call bell and asks for a Coke, or they come
Ugh,
to the back where we're trying to,
yeah.
revive this person. Can I have a Coke?
Oh my God. They're just so clueless. It's all about me. And the more I look at the news today and see like what's going on, there's so much disrespect and I just don't get it. Like what happened to people all of a sudden? It seems to be getting worse and worse. And I see people getting kicked off the plane. I mean, living in Spain, we don't see that kind of stuff. But when I watch the American news, I'm like, what is going on? Do you see
Yeah,
more and more of that?
yeah. Actually, I have a theory about that actually right now because America, I've traveled everywhere. You have as well. Kind of just the overall sensibilities. America is a bit nutty.
Yes.
So
Too much freedom.
yeah, yeah, it's just like so what I find is, everyone's been cooped up for, in the
Yeah.
house for so long that
Yeah.
they really have lost some of their social skills.
Yeah.
So they're
It's
already,
true. No, it's true.
yeah, when you're on a plane and I, give the passengers a lot of grace to be nutty because you're kind of, you probably stayed up all night packing, you're rushing to the airport. You don't do this as often as I do, maybe
Yeah.
a couple times a year. So a lot of times, they just don't know or they're out of sorts, and
Yeah.
you're up in the air. So I try to just allow for that. But
Yeah.
also too, I feel like with the added stress of COVID, the social skills have gone out the window. And you also
Yeah.
have people who just didn't travel before,
Yes.
who want to like, oh, now because they're like, we can travel. And so they haven't been on the airplane. And
Yeah.
then, you just have those people who are on the ground or in the air, they're going to act like a fool. So
Yeah.
it just happens to be in the air where it's even worse. But
Wow.
yeah, it is a lot, especially right now with summer travel.
Yes.
It's gotten, is different. It's just very, very different with the passengers. And I've actually have taken a leave of absence during COVID
I was
just to
just
keep
about to
myself.
say,
Yeah.
it must affect you. It has to. There's no way it couldn't affect you when you see what's going on and how people are treating everybody. It has to affect your mindset. Now, has it changed your mind? Do you say to yourself, maybe it's time to find another profession, or are you still loving it that you can look past this?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to give it time because after, being on leave for a while and not flying, I missed it. It was
Yeah.
just, not being on an airplane. I missed it. It's almost become an addiction.
Yeah.
Like I have to go somewhere. I have to just get on a plane, smell some jet fuel. But no, I still can't imagine. I'm always surprised just the amount of flexibility that I have
Yeah.
to yeah, I really, really enjoy. So I can't
N-
imagine, I definitely it's not time yet.
Yeah. Good. Now, do you do just local, I mean, within the country travel, or do you go international? You obviously go international for the most part, but is it a mix of both, or once you're assigned to a section, that's the section you stay in?
Yeah, it's actually a mix, and this is what a lot of people think flight attendants, have the same route all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When let's say you've been with a company for 20, 30 years, you may have favorite places and you can easily get those
Okay.
places. But, the routes change based on demand. So
Ah,
I fly both international and domestic, a lot more domestic because I'm still fairly what they consider junior as far as number
uh-huh.
of years working. So a lot
Okay.
of times I'll fly domestic flights, but if I, really pay attention to the trips that are available, I'm able to get like international trips, and those are normally 3-day trips where I'm over there for, I head over to say London, I'm
Mm-hmm.
there 24 hours, and then I head back. So
Okay.
usually, just a taste of a city, but I do a
Yeah.
bit of both.
Yeah, but sometimes that's all you need too, you know? So it lets you suss out like what countries you'd like to come back to. I think that's a great way.
That is exactly. It's like it's for me, especially in summertime or when I'm trying to get away in winter too, I guess. It's a mini vacation. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, I've got paid. I've done
Yeah,
the work.
exactly. Like, I'll do that. Yeah, thanks. Now, what are the other perks of being a flight attendant in addition to like, do you get like free? I just picture like free tickets, free everything. So, what are some of the perks that go along with the job?
Oh, well, let's say we deeply discounted flights. Everyone's, well,
Nice.
I want to say domestically, yeah, it's pretty free. We still have to pay, taxes, but let's say deeply discounted flights. And so that's the
Nice.
huge perk. We have like corporate discounts for the hotels and rental cars, but it's definitely not free. Like I still have to, I like to travel and I travel more than the average person during my
Uh-huh.
personal vacations, but I
Yeah.
still have to budget and it's
To
easy to blow my entire income on travel.
Aha.
'Cause
It's like an addict big giving cocaine. Oh, Nicole loves to travel. So let's put her here where she can like, really
Right,
travel.
right. Or I'm just thinking, I've had a hard week. I'm like, oh, I need a vacation. Like
Exactly.
just had one 2 weeks ago. I need another one. Like let me figure out where I'm going. But I think one of the perks though is that I love that my parents can fly for free.
Oh,
This low taxes
nice.
is discounted as well. They have the same flight benefits that I do.
Yeah.
And so
Oh,
that's I think a beauty. I love seeing, my
that's
mom
amazing.
and stepdad, they travel. The first time I end up, giving them password login and saying, okay, you can
Yeah.
book your flights, but I end up booking all their flights.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm like, am I a travel agent too?
Oh wow. But what a lovely continuously giving gift for your parents to have,
It
when they can
is.
travel. Now,
Yeah.
did they ever want to travel, or is it now that Nicole is doing this, well, we'll travel, but you know how some parents are, they don't want to travel at all. Are they like that, or they just want to they just want new adventures?
Well, I had to look back when I got this job, and I think I've come from, a family of kind of travelers. When we were younger, my grandfather actually was a sky cap, which is a
Ah,
baggage porter
yeah, uh-huh.
for American Airlines. And so he would have buddy passes all the time that, my aunts and
Oh,
uncles, and he'd actually
uh-huh.
took my brother and I out to California on buddy passes. That's the day, we had to put on our Sunday best to go to the airport.
Yes, of course, in those days. Oh, I miss those days.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Me
Now
too.
people are in their underwear, and it's like, excuse
Or
me?
and their house shoes. Yeah. And yeah, yeah, it's quite a bit like, okay. But from there, I think, and the funny part is my mom raised my brother and I. She was scared to fly. She was for the longest time. She was scared to get on the airplane. So
Yeah,
she tried, but my grandfather would just take us, or we drive everywhere. So every
yeah.
summer we drove down to Alabama from Michigan. So it was kind of like okay. But as she got older, she actually took a class for nervous flyers, and so
Oh,
then she
wow.
started traveling. So
Uh-huh.
by the time that I got hired as a flight attendant, she was
She was ready.
traveling with my stepdad, which was fun. So she's a bit older, so it's so funny. It's like they're flying standby, so I'm nervous whenever they're flying standby because
Thanks.
standby is either a dream come true or your
Yeah,
worst nightmare. There's
yeah.
rarely anything in between. But
Wow.
she said, they get on, they learn how to navigate the whole system. And, my mom is older, so they might have a wheelchair. And, my stepdad
Yeah.
they just roll to the gates. They sit there and wait.
That is so great. That
Yeah,
is so great. I'm so happy that they're able to get out there and enjoy the world. There's so much to see,
me
and it's
too.
wonderful that you're able to provide that for them.
I know.
Now, do other people also say like, Nicole, what if I'm your long lost sister or something? Do you ever get people coming up to you trying to get you basically to bend the rules because they're related to you or whatnot?
It's not easy to do that, which is awesome as
Good.
far as, but I do have people, when meeting me, and this is a thing, and they're like, "Oh, hey, wow, you're a flight
Uh-huh.
attendant. So,
That
what's
was
up
my
with the buddy
question. I was
pass?"
like
Yeah, like I'm like, "They're for a buddy, and I don't
exactly.
know
Yeah,
you."
and I don't know you.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, people
Uh,
are really bold. I see, when it comes to things like that. It's like, yeah, what can you do for me? It's like, I think I just met you like 2 seconds ago. I mean,
right.
really?
Right. I had a lot of people, if they don't just say, "So, what's up with the buddy pass?" Usually, I promise you within the week, 2 weeks, they're like, "How can I get a discount on flights?"
Oh
Which is
my
code word
God.
for I'm just like,
Yeah.
"I don't know because I don't
Ex-
deal with that." I'm
Good
like,
for you.
Expedia, Kayak, yeah,
Sky scatter.
I
There
don't
you
deal
go.
with ticketing. So,
That's great.
exactly. Yeah.
And then it's like you never hear from them again because you can't
Right.
you can't help them, right?
Exactly, exactly. But there's a black market of people who do sell buddy passes, and that's not
Wow.
anything that I do because
Yeah.
you can really get fired for that.
Yeah, I would
If
think
you're
so,
not using them, if you're profiting off your flight benefits, you're definitely in, hot water. Can't get in hot water. So,
Good.
people will sell their passes, and then someone comes to the airport like, "What are you talking about? I can't get on this flight. I bought this." And that's a red flag.
That's where that's how it starts and it
Yeah,
unravels. And it's like, why would I risk my livelihood for you, some stranger that I don't even know? I
exactly,
don't get it. And you're already making enough and then you want to just get more. And I'm like, yeah, these people don't play. I used to work for a big corporation too, like when I was doing pharmacy, and it's like there are rules in place and you think you can, skirt them, but they will find you.
exactly, exactly. And so I'm pretty much, we're being watched. They know where we are, even
Yes,
when we think,
exactly.
they don't. So I just don't go by that and let people know, like, I can't. I've had someone say to me before, like, "Hey, if you're going here, I need you to, take something for me." I'm going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
And I was
That's
just like,
that's one thing that always makes me laugh, because I'm like, yeah, I don't listen to any of those announcements, and when they ask you, "Did you pack this crap yourself?" and you say yes, and it's like, did
right,
anybody give you anything? And you say yes, and then you're like, it wasn't mine. Somebody gave it to me. I'm like, you have to like be responsible and be
Ex-
up to date on all these things, especially like
exactly.
I know you're familiar with like my pips. I'm Nigerian by birth, so it's like when I
Mhm.
go back home, I'm coming back. You always get some woman because we're respectful of older people, and they'll come up to you. It's like, "Oh, my kid." I'm like, "I'll kneel for you with respect and everything, but don't be asking me to carry anything. It's not
Mhm.
gonna
Oh,
happen."
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They're like, "Well, bring this and this and everything," and I'm just no, I really enjoy my job, and, especially even flight attendants have to adhere to the same customs as far,
Yes.
when you go through, US customs or any country's customs, there have been flight attendants that would be fined for anything from, like, bringing in fruit or something
Hmm.
you're not supposed to be taking back,
From
so we're not exempt,
exam.
from getting in trouble and international
Yeah.
trouble.
Good. So anybody listening to this, so take it to heart and don't be doing this to to flight attendants. Now I got to ask you this. Do you ever get a lot of men coming onto you because they think that, you know, flight attendants are, loosey goosey and they're there to like you're there for their pleasure?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's, I talk about, I wrote the book. In the book I talk about, dating as a flight attendant. It's kind of like the fantasy versus the reality.
Yeah.
And so I meet, a lot of men who think like, "Oh, you don't want anything serious," or, "Oh, you have, boyfriends in different cities and all this."
Uh-huh.
I that was has never been me. I was, studious in school. I would say, nerd. I was about to say
Yeah.
borderline nerd, but no borderline.
That
And
was
so,
me. Yeah.
I know I look cute. I get it. I pull myself together. I can,
Yeah.
get a phone number too, but it's not. But I've never been as far as really, party girl. And
Yeah.
so that carries on to work, and you have different personalities where it's such a myth based in the 1960s,
Ah,
sexist kind of Pan Am type of.
yes,
I
yes.
laugh about. I laugh at the Pan Am
The
Yeah, the
movies
planning.
and the
Yeah,
whole thing. Yeah.
yeah. I remember one episode where the helicopter. She got into the helicopter to head on her flight. I'm just laughing like, yeah, right,
Sure.
right. Like
Yeah.
try the public transportation is more like this. Oh, I'm
Uh-huh.
trying to make the next train. So the
And
dating, yeah, it's the same. It's the same way. It's kind of like it's
great.
very. It just feels so basic to me.
Yeah.
Like really kind of deal. Mm-mm. But I guess I had to learn to accept because people are like, ooh, flight attendant, sexy flight attendant. But they're like
Exactly.
that,
Yeah.
with the teacher, and the nurse
Yeah.
side of it. It's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
about, men wanting to be taken care of.
Exactly.
That's
What a
there,
surprise that
right?
is.
Right.
Now, this would be the perfect time to mention that you've written a book about some of your experiences as a flight attendant. Now, please tell us the name, and the website. Feel free to let us know and, whatever you want to talk about the book.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's called When the Seatbelt Sign Goes Off. I, a flight attendant's life. And what it's about is really the real life of my life as a flight attendant. So it talks about, how I got the job, but also the ups and downs of, trying to navigate life off the plane. So that's why it's called When the Seatbelt Sign Goes Off, because it's kind
And
of like, if it's in flight, things happen. But really,
yeah.
after we get off the plane, when, I'm away from the plane, what's my life really like? And you'd be surprised. It's different in some ways because I'm always on the go, but in other ways, I'm dealing with family, I'm dealing with relationships, dating is in there as well,
Hmm.
dealing with moving to a new city, and then, family
Yeah.
issues. So I want people to see that, flight attendant isn't all this, oh, I went to, this great place and, I partied and laid by the pool and I met, celebrities and all this interesting stuff. It's really, you know, I worked on a trip. I had some
Hmm.
great adventures, but I
Hmm.
also came home and had to pay the bills. you know,
Exactly. It's not all for the gram,
Right, exactly, exactly.
Let's just hate that. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm from a different era or something. I'm just like, okay, can we just have you go on vacation? I don't really need to see the back of your head or, anything. I just need you to tell me what happened and how it was. Everything can't be all rosy
Oh,
100% of the time. It's
not
just
at
insane.
all. Right, exactly. It is definitely not 100% roses at all. Long hours, red eye flights, getting someplace delirious, or just dealing with a plane full of passengers. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
you go home to do that, or trying to figure out, like, how can I make this appointment when I have all these trips back to back?
Back to
And then,
back.
for me, it was getting used to this completely new lifestyle, learning how to navigate a new city. Because when
Yeah.
I moved from Atlanta to Chicago, so
Hmm.
I talk about what it was like finding a place to live and,
Hmm.
living in crash pads and then, moving again. All those different things play into it. And I still have a red eye flight to do, falling
Now,
in love, getting my heart broken.
uh-huh.
Just, yeah. So it really, I talk about what it's really like to date a flight
Uh,
attendant.
exactly. That's great. Now, you have a website dedicated to this called seatbeltsign.com, where
Yes.
people can go and check out, what the book is about, see the chapters, get a little excerpt so that they can whet their appetite. And the book is available on Amazon or
Yes.
on your website. And it's funny. I haven't really read the whole thing, but from what I've read, I just love it, and I just am looking forward to reading the rest of it. Now, Nichole, I'll just put this out there
Hmm.
because I've just always wondered: do you ever get a lot of people wanting to join the Mile High Club?
Actually, I've heard of the experience. I haven't on my flights, and
Oh,
that's
thank goodness!
probably because I'm probably like, good luck with that. Just make sure to go to the doctor because the planes are so nasty. The planes are just like, if you
Well,
want to
that's
do
true.
something in the lab, just make sure you bring some condoms and a can of Lysol, maybe 2 cans of Lysol, because what takes place in that bathroom and your people are trying to aim at, when there's
Yeah.
turbulence. I couldn't imagine myself.
Yeah.
doing that.
I don't get it. For men, I could almost see it, but for women, it's like, ew.
Ex-
I
ex-
mean,
Exactly, exactly. But I've heard some stories, it's kind of like, okay, stop that, stop that, or, oh, or maybe sometimes, flight attendants, we have to write incident reports and we don't want to write an incident report. So it's kind of
yeah,
like, okay, it's dark. I don't know what's going on. Let me go buy this right quick.
exactly.
But yeah, I think because I've worked so much on a plane, it's kind of like an office to me.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not
Well, that makes
really
sense. Yeah,
sexy. It's not, it's kind of like, okay, okay, but for some I get it is. And I'm just
yeah,
like, good luck with the privacy and the space because we it's just not a lot of space on the planes to, find you a quiet corner, even a lab. If
yeah.
you're in the lab too long, people will be knocking like, I'm trying to get in there.
Exactly. People are constantly knocking you.
Yep.
And then you come out and there's a long line. How can you just come out and be, all I don't get it. But I was just wondering because it seems like, one more thing that you see in the movies and it's another myth that keeps perpetrating itself, I guess.
Yeah, I am still, and this is my reference. I like airplane movies. I like airplane movies quite a lot. And if you
Hmm.
ever sit down with a group of flight attendants to watch airplane movies, we'll tell you how that movie is not actually real. Like we're out the whole movie, and that's why I like it. I'm like, yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like the captain looks that good. Yeah, right.
I always, every time I see, something, I'm always like, yeah, in real life, they look like Mrs. Doubtfire. Everybody, it
Oh
doesn't matter if
gosh,
it's
yeah.
male or female. It's like they always look like that. But in the movies, they look like, Cameron Diaz and Halle Berry. And I'm like, yeah, right.
Exactly, exactly. Like, yeah, the uniforms are like that. Like that much
Yeah.
coat is showing. Like they have actually cute matching bags and heels. Like, yeah, right.
Exactly.
But it's funny. I think one where it was like, I think a pilot and flight attendant are making out, and they're
Yeah.
in a hallway. I'm like, what hallway? There's not enough room to like throw someone up against a wall and like start
Yeah.
taking flight.
There's no room for
Really,
that.
out of passenger sight. Yeah, yeah.
Now, let me ask you one more. No, actually, I have two more questions, I think, for you before I let you go. The first is, oh, and I can't remember what it was. Now go and figure that out. Okay. What would you say is the best, of all the trips that you've had? What city like impressed you the most? And you say, oh my God, I have favorite memories of that and I want to go back. Like, what's your favorite one?
That's such a hard question.
Good.
It's really been. I'm trying to think. I'd have to give you a list of the top three
Okay.
places, and it's
Okay.
really been probably on my personal time because I do travel a lot.
Hmm.
I'll do girls trips, but I also do solo vacations. If I like
Hmm.
a place, I'll rent a place and go back and forth from there when I'm not working. Um,
Hmm.
I'd have to say my favorite these days is Guatemala,
Hmm.
and it's not the city, but there was a lake at Titilan, and it's one
Okay.
of the most beautiful lakes in the world, and it's surrounded. It's listed by a few magazines as one of the most beautiful places in the world, but it's
Wow.
surrounded by seven volcanoes, and it's
Nice.
actually the place I went to finish writing the book. It was
Okay.
just gorgeous. The culture, Guatemalan culture, is just still intact. It's really laid back. Everything like really operates on the sun up to sundown with the lake,
Mm.
and it's such like a spiritual place. So I
Nice.
want to say that's probably I'm very much nature, so I'll
Uh-huh.
fly somewhere just to climb a hill or go hiking.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, my other places I really like London. Yeah, if I
Ha,
could,
that's my
I
favorite
would.
city in the world.
Yeah, I was really surprised. The first few times I wasn't, but I went enough times and I got a chance to more the city. And then
Mhm.
I've partied in London too, went to
Mm.
clubs there, and I'm just like, am I
Mm.
back in Chicago? Because it's such a cosmopolitan international
Yes.
place. So I would say London is my as far as city is my
Okay.
favorite, and then I want to say still Paris because I'll just eat myself silly with French bread.
Yes.
Yeah, I just
we I
with the
was took
food.
my mother-in-law. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I just saying, one time my mother-in-law and my husband, we were in London and we met a friend who lived in Paris. And, our only request was bring some French bread, even at the train station, like, so that we could start eating it. Like the
Ex-
second we landed, we just wanted some bread.
yeah,
So I
that's
just love
exactly.
Paris.
Yeah, I've done that too before. Like it was my first time in Paris. I think was on a layover, and I went. I didn't really know Paris, but I went down to the hotel and had the breakfast, and I just had to stop myself. Like, oh my gosh, this is what French bread is really like. Does anyone
Yeah.
else know how good this bread is? Since then, I'm hooked. I One time I had a flight for Thanksgiving, and I was
Mhm.
going over to dinner with some friends in Chicago. I was laying around 2 or 3, so I brought, fresh croissants back from Paris. They
Mhm.
loved them. I was like, "Yeah, that's one of the perks of being a flight attendant."
Exactly. Well, one of the pleasures of their life, like food it's pretty up there with me, it's
Yeah.
pretty high up there.
Same here. I become a foodie. I wanna say I'm a somewhat of a foodie, but I
Mhm.
become like a food snob when I get to Paris.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
few days afterwards, I'm like, "What? This was overnight? This is not cooked fresh?" I'm like, "Oh,
It
no."
must impress you, right?
Right. Right. I'm like, "Oh, no, I can't eat this," and don't what? Takeaway? Can't do that. We have to sit
Oh,
down
that's
and dine.
exactly. That's funny.
But, yeah, it's been amazing just to see, so many places. Thailand, I really like Thailand. Was another, favorite of mine as well.
Mhm, mhm.
Just like there's so much to see and do
Yes,
and so
yes.
much. So I have this long, never-ending list of, places
Uh-huh.
I wanna see, and then I'll go back. Mexico for a while.
Yeah.
I was in Mexico. I had a place in Mexico, and so
Oh, really?
when I would leave work, I would just,
Uh-huh.
catch a flight down to Mexico, and I just hang out there until
Oh,
it was time,
wow.
to go back to work. Sometimes it would be like a week, sometimes it would be 2 weeks.
That's great.
But just, yeah,
Yeah.
near beach or near body of water or nature is my happy place.
That's fantastic. Now, do you ever feel threatened or, as a single Black woman traveling, does it bother you? Do you fear, or are you just okay with everything?
So, and I talk about this. So the first time I've learned a different way to travel since being a flight attendant. And that's one of the things, too. I used to, take vacations. I'd go with friends and everything like that. And then flight attendants, your friends may not always be around or able
Of
to take
course.
short vacations. So I had to learn to solo travel. And
Hmm.
I was nervous at first, like, okay, I'm, worried about this. But now it's not a thing to just jump on a plane, go to a new city. I think I take the precautions, but I'm not as scared. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to be smart
Yes.
about it too.
That's the key word right there.
Right, right. And it's so liberating though, just to see all these different places and you meet so many great
Yeah.
people along the way.
Yes, you do.
You meet other solo travelers like, oh, hey, let's, hang out. And then you have friends for life. So
Yes.
I'd encourage people, and I talk about my whole process of fear. I'm worried about getting robbed and everything. And I had other people, other friends who were they're the ones who were like, "Oh, you should just go." And I'm like, by myself? Or you come with me? No, go have fun.
Exactly.
So there's a whole culture of solo travelers who,
Yeah.
look out for each other, but also there's different ways so people make sure you know where you are going. But I've
Yeah.
always been adventurous, you know.
Me too. I
So
just always love traveling. And it's like, even before the internet, it was like me, a guidebook, and a plane ticket. I am off. Book my trip, done it. I'm like, it's only, I didn't even think about it. It's like, this was way before like GPS. And all I had was a map I couldn't read because I just suck at it
yeah,
and a guidebook. I'm like, that's it. I'll discover everything on my own. Thank you.
yeah.
And it was fun.
I like getting there. I don't know. I'm still not crazy about the traveling part, but I like
Yeah.
getting there. I'm still, kind of, even on the plane, I'm kind of like, okay, I can do with the plane. I used to before worked with the airlines. I would go to sleep on planes. I would just say, okay, stay up
Yeah.
all night and then just go to sleep because that was my way of kind of just getting through the flight, getting it over with, and getting it there. You close your
Yeah.
eyes and then you're there. But
Wow.
So, but yeah, the exploring, I like to just see new things and try new foods. Even still, like in Honolulu right now, I'm trying new foods.
Yeah.
And I
Good.
have a coworker, and so he's like, "Oh, try this." He's been here before. He's like,
Yeah.
"Try this." So of course, we're trying spam, different,
Mm.
spam deli.
Open to new experiences.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Now, Nicole, this is my last question. I told you I had two, so this is my last one. What advice would you give to any woman out there, young kids, whatever, looking to get into the business? What advice would you have for them?
Hmm. Well, right now, I think business, the airlines, is coming back. It's been, it's a terrible, terrible year. I
Hmm.
didn't even know if I'd have a job after when the pandemic hit. So
Yeah.
I would say it's got to be a lot of patience and
Yeah.
timing. The best way to do is not focus so much on travel, but really about being able to be flexible. That's the
Okay.
thing about the flight attendant job is, flexible in different situations with different people from all over the world. It's not just getting along with people, but really knowing how to communicate with people,
Hmm.
how to recognize or have awareness about things. I think one of the jobs that surprisingly helped me the most was I used to do waitressing.
Hmm.
And that was a job that was
Yeah.
very much of interest to the
Yeah.
interviewers because, you dealt with a lot of people. You were doing service, you're doing, food service. So
Yes.
that's something, the customer service skills,
Yeah.
they can train you about, the procedures, but I think the customer service skills is what they're really looking for in the hospitality and hotel
Hmm.
restaurant industries. So you have a good chance from there. And then you have to keep your ear to the ground. Who's hiring? And when they're
Yeah.
hiring, be ready.
Yes.
I know for me, that website, Anna told me, like, go on tonight when it opens up at midnight because the website shuts down so fast because so many people apply.
So make sure
So,
you check out the websites of the different airlines that you're interested in and don't discount your customer service experience. That's
exactly.
great.
Exactly. Exactly. But it is one of those things where, it's just amazing opportunity to get. I'm hoping, at one point my niece will, want to travel or be a flight attendant. And the beauty
Yeah.
is you can, do other things and still be a flight attendant. A lot of people are into real estate.
Hmm.
Some are going back to school. There are nurses who are, still working. So it's a great thing that you have the flexibility
Yeah.
to, work part time if you wanted to.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Nicole. It's been wonderful talking to you. Now, everybody listening to this, the book is called When the Seatbelt Sign Goes Up by Nichole Davis, and it's going to be available on Amazon. And also, don't forget, you can find all the information, everything we've talked about today on the website nextbiteoflife.com. So thanks again, Nicole, for joining me today. It was great.
Kim Camille, it was my pleasure. Thank you. It was a great conversation. And just want to let people know if you can go to Seatbelt Sign too. There's a link to the Amazon, which is way easier to find.
Okay, so that's seatbeltsign.com.
Yeah.
And that will end this episode. Thanks a lot, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye. Take care.